Mike the Naked Bigfoot here. Um, just wanted to do a quick update to the last live that I did about whatever it is in the woods now here on our farm. This time in the woods, that was screaming and ended laughing and going deeper into the woods, laughing as we were trying to approach it. Um, it's still out there. This morning, we have a fairly large farm. Those who watch my stream and those who may know me, our farm is fairly large. So, and we can't maintain it all by ourselves because we have orchards and so forth and animals. So we have a number of farm hands who are friends of the family that work on our farm here. And they come in at the break of dawn and they leave when the sun sets every day. Well, just about every day. Uh, one of them this morning came up to the house before my wife headed down to open the greenhouse. He was feeding the goats, and you see, we have a couple of retail businesses. We have a landscape design and landscaping business, a lawn mowing service, and tree cutting service, and we also have a retail greenhouse, and we have a retail shop in town. We actually have a couple of retail shops. We have one in here in Blue Ridge. We have another in Farmville, and we have one opening in Appomattox County, um, hopefully at the end of summer. But that's neither here nor there. Uh, he came up to the door this morning, and our retail greenhouse, the greenhouse it's four greenhouses. Two of them are for retail for customers to come and buy plants and shrubs, vegetable plants, flowers. And the other two are for us to our grow houses for what we grow here on the farm for food, and also to start the stuff up that we sell in the other two greenhouses. It's um, it's located on the southern part of our property, and we have there's a main road that branches off in a couple of directions when you come down the road. One road leads to the retail greenhouse. Um, the other two roads, one leads out into the fields, and the other one leads over here to our house, the main house where we live at on our property. And occasionally, we'll get, well, more often than not, I care to admit to, uh, we get customers who get lost, who have family members who get lost, and they'll walk on some of the trails, and they'll show up in our backyard literally from the retail greenhouse. I don't blame them. We have lots to look at here on the property, and we have uh, we have gardens all over Kingdom Come. But no matter how well we put signs up, people still somehow find their way here on our property. Um, I tried not to be that big of a jackass about it because these are customers and we need their business, especially nowadays with the way the world is going. But that's neither here nor there. He came up to let my wife know that he thinks that he thought um, some customers were already at the greenhouse and maybe had gotten, were walking up the trail to, since it wasn't officially open just yet this morning. They were walking up the trail, um, walking back up the road here to the main house to see what was going on. Well, they came early, and apparently we do have a number of customers who come in and they'll wait for us to open the greenhouse up. We have set hours, but they like to be the first one in and the first one out in the morning, which I don't blame them. The best shit that we carry is always sold out first couple hours that we're open, and then we have everything else that people pick through. And my wife asked him, "Why did you see somebody or hear somebody?" He said, "No, uh, I heard a boy laughing in the woods." Um, sounded like he was running around in the woods laughing, and he thought he was with his parents. The reason why he came to ask us about it, about the boy that was laughing in the woods, the sound that he heard of a boy laughing in the woods, a young boy laughing in the woods, is it's my standing orders that if they hear anything in the woods, especially if it's a person, they let us know. Because if it's a repeat trespasser, I call the police on them. If it's somebody who is genuinely lost, I usually, me or my wife or my son will have a talk with them and explain to them that our woods are dangerous. We don't do it in an unsettling way. We just tell them that we cannot be liable for them wandering our property and something happening to them, especially if they have kids, that we have dangerous animals here. Good morning, Super Horror Show. How's it going, Mike? You'll need to watch my previous video as I talk about today's update. Um, some shit's going down here on the property, so there's something new on the Naked Bigfoot's property. It's something, or as I have come to believe, it's something incredibly old that's on our property, but new to us. Well, to me, well, not to me, but to my wife. And that's the reason why he heard the child in the woods. And he doesn't, well, you need to watch it, dude. It's interesting. We'll have I'll do tonight's regular live, but I wanted to do this update this morning first. Um, but it's still fresh in my mind, and I'm kind of alone in the house right now, too, so got a little freedom without people looking over my shoulder. Um, back to what I was saying. Our farmhands and the people that work on our property, whenever they see something unusual, they like to report it first before and want us to let them know what they should do about it. Because I've told them if they hear anything or see anything, don't go in the woods. Come to us first before you do anything. And both for liability reasons. Plus, I don't want them to get killed or hurt. But for liability, especially if it's a trespasser, I don't want them going off in the woods by themselves. And if the trespasser is dangerous, hurting them, because like I said, our farmhands are like family to us. The people that work on our farm are like family to us. We love them a great deal. We don't want anything to happen to them here. And they've been with us for years. So we do look at them as family. And as he told my wife that he heard a child laughing in the woods, and he could hear the leaves in the woods behind the goat pen, which leads back into the mountains again, back deeper into the woods. The goat pen is near the woods. He heard them, a kid running around the woods laughing. And he came up here to let us know that there was somebody in the woods. And did he want to go out there? Did he want us to have him go out there to wrangle whoever it was in the woods, or did he want one of us to go out there with him? See, normally I would send my son out there, but my son is out with our landscaping crew right now. They got a shit ton of lawns to mow today, and businesses to mow, and trees to cut, and gardens to plant for people. So he's out and about running the business right now and leading the team, so he's not here. So my wife came to me, and she told me, she says, whatever it was the other night, sounds like it's back in the woods again. Looked at her and said, she told me, what Gil told her, what Gil was hearing in the woods. And I asked her to have Gil come in to see me, my bedroom where I was laying down at, to come in and see me. And I told him under no circumstances is he to go into the woods at all. And of course, his eyes get huge because he knows when I say something like that, it's well known in these parts is when I give warnings about our woods that they need to take it seriously, because usually it means there's something dangerous out there. Something dangerous is going on. So Gil's eyes got huge. Um, and he looked at me and says, "Is it them?" And when one of our farmhands asks, "Is it them?" They usually refer to the hairy assholes, aka the Bigfoot that lives on our property, lives in the mountains around us. But all the farmhands and all the workers here seen have seen traces and seen things in our woods that that are them. That it is the hairy assholes that live outside. But the only sounds, like I said, most of them have heard sounds in the woods before that. They assume it's them looking at them, either trees crashing, trees breaking and crashing in the woods, or grunting. Sometimes um, a low howl or something like that, and they chalk it up to that. And when they hear that, they move closer. They move further. Farmhands usually move further away from the woods or further away from the various fields, like the cornfield, because there's always an unusual amount of activity in our cornfield from them, because they use our cornfield to, of course, conceal themselves and watch us. And they use that corn too as a source of nutrition as well. I believe. They take the corn and eat it. Um, we've also found patches of corn, just off subject really quick, patches of corn where obviously something was lying down or sitting down or crouching down, and they had crushed the corn around them and were sitting on it in positions to where they could view the house. But let's get back to the laughing boy. I'll have to talk about those hairy assholes again in another update. Um, and I told him when he asked me, was it them? I said, no, it's not them. It's something else that's out there. Um, and I had been doing for the last couple of days, I've been doing my research. Uh, and I said earlier, maybe it was something that my granny had told me about, and my great granny had told me about. That lived in our mountains, um, which was they called it, my grandparents called it a krata, um, something that would mimic the sounds of people, words, phrases, vocalizations. They would make them sound human to lure people deeper into the woods off of trails, and and they would eat them. They were predators. They would lure people in the woods and eat them. Um, they were Krata, as I was told, they were famous especially for luring kids into the woods, and luring hunters into their territory that they were in the mountains hunting. They would lure them out and devour them. Um, they were also known as the gray men of the mountains too. The Krata were, because of their skin coloration. They were hairless things that were completely gray in tone from head to toe except for their eyes. Um, had a almost vulpine, um, sometimes dog-like, sometimes pig-like snout and facial features that were filled with very sharp teeth, the way they were described to me. Very long, very sharp teeth that, of course, they would use to eat you with. um, and they didn't hunt alone. They hunted in packs when they were in the woods. And they were nomadic, according to my granny, that they would travel the mountains and travel the trails in the mountains. And as she put it, they would follow the food where they figured, and they're intelligent. Krata are intelligent. Um, that they knew when they had outstayed their welcome, and they were afraid of hunting parties. They would move on. Uh, Hunting parties looking for them, that they would move on to another town, and that they were truly evil things. Well, that's just a Krata. I suspected at first that's what they were talking about, but like I said earlier, it scared the ever living shit out of me, that the screaming and it was doing in the woods before it devolved into an old man laughing, and then the old man laughing devolved into a child laughing. um, out there in the woods. And it went again. Once they were just gonna say this, it's always something. um, when you live, I call it living the paranormal life. When you live the paranormal life and you grew up knowing that there's something, that the monster under the bed more likely was real, um, and that all the shadows that are cast by moonlight are not those of trees. And that's another saying from my granny. Um, she told me if you're ever in the woods and a full moon and look at the shadows around you, she said it's a good way to know if you're alone or not. um, yeah, that's a good title. That's a good working title. Um, if you see a shadow on the ground that's being cast by something that you don't see, um, she said, know that there is something there. Because everything casts a shadow, whether you can see it or not, um, whether it's unseen on purpose. She says everything casts a shadow. Even spirits will, under the right circumstances, produce a shadow. She said, but if you're ever in the woods at night or on the road alone and you see a shadow that's being cast by something that's not there that you can't see, she says, you need to run. Because something's there with you. And more likely it's hunting you. Um, I just thought you guys would like that little bit thing. Back to the laughing child in the woods. Well, I told him, I said, whatever you do, don't go back and don't go into the woods. See what it is. Um, I looked over at my wife. I said, can you walk with him? Because I wasn't very mobile this morning. I'm more mobile now than I was earlier this morning. I was very stiff, not very walkative. Even with my cane, I wasn't very walky. Um, yeah, I heard that too. I don't know what the fuck that was. I'm in here with Gozer the Siamese cat, and something just hit the side of the house. She jumped up. I mean, it hit the side of the house hard. Um, fuck. Here we go. One more thing. Like I said before, one more thing. She's still looking. She won't go to the window, but she's still peeping over there trying to figure out what it is. I'm with you, Goose. I don't know what the fuck it is either. I don't hear anything else. Makes you a little paranoid, especially when you're in this big ass house alone. Um, I asked her to grab a gun and walk out there with him and see if it was still in the woods, see if something was still laughing in the woods. She walked down to the back. I watched out the window upstairs, and as they were walking out, and I lost track of them once they went past the oak trees in our yard. I couldn't see them anymore. But I kept the window open in case I heard any screaming or they cries for help. And they were gone for about 20 minutes, and she came back up. And she said, what if, whatever it was, it's not out there anymore. And she said that Gil just kept telling her, he fucking heard it. He heard it laughing. He's not crazy. And she told him, I know you're not crazy. But she emphasized, like I did to him, not to, if she hears a child laughing in the woods, but does not see a child, to not go in the woods looking for it, to come to us first, or grab one of the other farmhands, or my son or any of our landscape workers that come on the property to get the equipment to go to them and get them to go with him, but never go alone. That's always been the rule here at Bad Wolf Farms. Those who didn't know, that's the name of the farm, is Bad Wolf Farms. Um, she, fuck, my brain just melted for a minute. I'm still wondering what the fuck hit the side of the house out there. It was loud. It was very loud. Um, enough to startle my lazy fat Siamese cat, make her get up and investigate, but not go to the window, which is weird for her. So whatever was in the woods laughing before, making itself known before, is still here. And again, I'm researching it. I'm trying to figure out what it is. It's not the hairy assholes, I can tell you that. It's something else. Like I told you during my first encounter out there with my son, and everybody out there who heard it, it felt wrong. The feeling I was getting from it was wrong. It felt wrong. It felt evil. I'm getting goosebumps again talking about the memory of it, of being out there, listening to that thing screaming like a woman, and ending with a howl. It felt wrong, and the word I don't use the word evil very often. As I have said, and you know I've said this before for those who know me and watch my videos, but I got the distinct feeling that this thing is evil. It's not afraid of people. I think it's more. I think it's a half-life. Okay. About to get into some mountain terminology here. Some hoodoo, voodoo, and paranormal terminology. A lot of people haven't heard before. Not a lot of people I've talked to have talked about it. Most of the Bagans bunnies, the Zach Bagan followers, wouldn't know this term, so I had to get a dig in. Always get at least one dig in every time, to lighten the mood at least. When I use the term half-life, when you say something is a half-life, and I first heard this from my granny and my great-granny, the term half-life. Something that is a half-life, it's something that exists both in the physical world and in the spiritual world at the same time. It only exists in our world as something that is half alive in our world and half alive in the spirit world. It is and together it makes it whole. Some people think that Bigfoots are spiritual creatures as well, that could be described as something like a half-life. There are a lot of critters, the Enkidu, are known to be half-lives. And I know those who look up the word Enkidu real quick. Enkidu, those who know the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is a very long poem between it's the story of Gilgamesh and Enkidu, his friend. And Enkidu dies at the end of it. Well, the legend of the Enkidu was a wild man that was befriended by Gilgamesh, was a magical being that was, well, he was magical in things that he did, according to the Epic of Gilgamesh. Very wise, very powerful. But Enkidu belonged to a race of critters that could be considered half-lives. They were a thing that was half. He was a thing that was half-life. And Enkidu's friendship, after Enkidu died, this is outside of the Epic of Gilgamesh, for those who don't know. There's more to the story. There's always more to the story. That when Enkidu died, he died, fighting for his friend, Gilgamesh. Their friendship was legendary. Of course, enough to do the Epic of Gilgamesh and be passed down for thousands of years, that story between the two of them. The half-life, the tribe that Enkidu belonged to, was nameless. It was a nameless tribe. They were a nameless people. But when he died a hero and died as Gilgamesh's friend. Enkidu's people took his name as their own. They became known as the Enkidu. They called themselves the Enkidu to honor the memory of Enkidu. It was great honor, great respect, and that the memory of Enkidu would last forever in their people. And the Enkidu were half-lives, shape changers. Some of them throughout history were known as tricksters. But they existed both half in the spiritual world and half in the mortal world. And throughout the ages, the tribes split and separated and traveled around the world and settled in different parts of the world. And the Enkidu, the tribe of the Enkidu gave rise to a lot of myths and legends that are told in various parts of the world, in China and Japan and the Baltic regions and Sweden and Norway, and Iceland with the elves. The Iceland elves were thought to be members of the tribe, the Enkidu, members of that tribe. In Greenland, the elves in Greenland as well, they were thought to be from the tribe that Enkidu belonged to, known as the Enkidu. God, I didn't want this to be an update I didn't want this to be a sermon about what it is, but my suspicions are it's not a member of the Enkidu. They were not known to be malevolent. I mean, the Enkidu are known to be hostile. And the Enkidu were known to hold grudges. And they could be violent and they could be vicious towards their enemies or people they perceived as their enemies. But I think there's something a bit more malevolent going on with whatever this thing is. And like I said, I suspect it's a half-life. I just don't know what breed of half-life it is. But I put my feelers out to my various friends, older friends who have done a lot more research than I have in some of the more obscure areas of paranormal and supernatural cryptids. And I'll let you know. Now, my son and my daughter, my wife, they all know that if they hear or see anything is to have their phone out and try to record the sounds. We missed out on it before, and I'm still kicking myself over not recording any of that. But try to record the sounds that they hear out there. To see if they're recordable, because not all things, cryptid or paranormally speaking, if you hear it with the human senses, you may not be able to hear it with electronic senses, and vice versa. Some things you can hear electronically that you can't hear with your ears. I know the paranormal and the preternatural world works by its own set of rules, and sometimes they're weird and hard to understand. But I just want to take a few minutes to give everybody an update out there. Whatever this is, it's still here. And it's still fucking around in the woods. It hasn't shown itself yet. I'm not saying I want it to show itself, but I would like it to show itself. When my son comes back home from during lunchtime to check in, um, I'm gonna see if he wants to go down to the woods behind the goat pen, to the woods behind the goat pen. I want to see if we see any footprints or broken branches or claw marks or some kind of evidence that might lead me in the direction of figuring out exactly what this is. Fuck, it might be a goblin. Don't believe that goblins are the shit that you see on television or in anime. These little goblin-like creatures that look like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Um, Goblins can look like people when they choose to. I know I'm going another little side note there. Um, this is how goblins were explained to me. When you're fucking with a goblin, they are the best at hunting that there's ever been in the supernatural world and the preternatural world. That goblins, how were they described to me? It was really funny how they were described to me. He said they were like ninjas from Krypton. There we go, ninjas from Krypton. I thought that was funny as shit when he described goblins that way to me. He said they are stealthy hunters and can only be seen when they wish to be seen. But if you ever had to fight one, or if you ever angered one, it could very easily tear you apart with its bare hands. Thus, ninjas from Krypton. um, I'm gonna leave it off right now, guys. Leave it right there because I'm beginning to trail off into all kinds of various unsundry stories now, which I'll have to save for another live stream. There will be a live stream tonight. I'm going to try to avoid talking about this new thing in the woods, um, but we'll see. We'll see. I think I'll be talking about raising the dead tonight. That should be entertaining, won't it? Okay, guys, have a great day. Again, if anybody has any suspicions or any ideas or any breadcrumbs they want to drop, um, that may lead me down the right path to figuring out very quickly and how to deal with what this is in the woods, I'd appreciate it in the comments, or you can DM me through Twitter as well. Alrighty, guys, have a good day.